So I was about to start doing some setup on my freshly installed Slackware 14.2 installation. This is on my main uh, home server. I thought it might be interesting to do a screencast of this, or at least some of this, right? So this will take some time to get everything exactly the way you like it. But the nice thing about Slackware is the major stuff is how I like it kind of out of the box. So this is just tweaking a few things. Mainly going to be installing some software, some useful packages and tools uh, to get moving. So the first thing is SBO package. So you can install some Slack builds quickly. And I'm going to switch around terminals here pretty quickly. Next one is VirtualBox. Want to be able to do some virtualization. And we're also going to do Java. Now I'm going to use the Slack build that's included with the Slackware distribution. It's under the extra directory. Now I've mounted my USB key on mount temp. So if you see here extra, you get Java extra source. So I'm going to copy that just because we need to be able to just find it handy to have that available for writing. And we'll just run this Slack build, and this will build the JDK. So I need the JDK. This will also work with the Jerry. You need the the tar file. We'll start building the package for the JDK there. VirtualBox is installed. So let's bring up SBO package here. It's got to create some directories. Ooh, no, that looks really ugly with that color scheme. Let's try over here. That looks better. So do this terminal. I got a sync to pull down the latest and greatest. And I'm just going to install a couple packages here to get started. One of them is going to be R, because I actually have to do some work here in a little bit. So we're going to install R to get started. So that's swinging along. Let's do some tweaking. So one of the things I don't like is they now have a dmessage restriction. So we're going to do some syscontrol to unrestrict that. And this should hopefully make things a little bit easier. Hopefully this will be just what's needed to do this. I hope I can remember what it is. Is that right? Pardon the interruption here. Yeah, that's it. Dmessage restrict. Okay, that's correct. And I always forget these syscontrol commands. So we want there. Yeah, this is it. Okay, so we now should be able to do a dmessage here. Okay, nice and handy. I don't know why. I mean, I guess it is a security thing, but again, I'm the only one really on this machine, and it is well secured. So I will switch back over here and get R. Quick look at the README in case anything's changed. No, so we're now up to 331. Currently on 323 everywhere, but we'll do this. Let's process this. I do like SBO package. I think it is fantastic. So what else do we have to do here? While we're in rc.d, let's turn on another interface. So this machine has 5 interfaces, 5 Ethernet interfaces. A lot of that's for emulation and virtualization. We have Ethernet 0 and we'll put on Ethernet 1. Give them both static IPs. And that's all that is necessary. So what else here in Etsy? We're going to want X11 Forwarding on. I certainly like X11 Forwarding. I think it's handy. So again, some of these things have some security impacts. So dmessage, turning that on. X11 Forwarding might have some security impacts. I'm not going to turn on Telnet, although I don't see why not, since other machines on the network are running Telnet. So I might turn on Telnet. So this is how one would turn on Telnet if one wanted to. You can just uncomment that if you wanted to turn on Telnet. So see if anything else is in rc.d that we need to tweak. So we're not running Network Manager because we're doing a static IP. We don't care about IP forwarding. Now we are going to want NFSD and RPC on for doing NFS mounting. So Slackware, beautiful startup script system. So we just change the permissions. And we now have NFSD and RPC. I have half a mind to do NTP, but currently I have another machine running NTP, so I want to get that one upgraded, and that is a NetBSD machine. So I'm not going to mess with NTP because I want to change this to actually be my NTP host locally. Get rid of that old machine. So we're not going to mess with NTP right now. What else? Let's take a look at the host file. Add an entry for my second interface. Call it something useful like that. Let's see how R is coming along. And it's churning along pretty well. The Java package is created. So we'll install that and verify Java. And we'll see about grabbing QEMU. So we're 260. And we'll add this manually. So we'll see about grabbing this manually. Since only one copy of SPO package can run at a time, so we'll just do this one manually. Look at the info to get the package. And just download the package. See how we're doing here. Okay, well that is wrapping up pretty quickly, and Java's installed. So probably have to source and Java and Javac are both on there. That is running swimmingly. always forget what these variables are. So we want targets equals all. And so we'll get QEMU, and that's useful for sometimes I like to run a VM in the as QEMU KVM, and for things that don't play as well under VirtualBox. Let's see how R is coming. Okay, so that's still churning along. Trying to think of what other tweaks we can do here on a blank system. See what the my other disks are here. Okay, SDB. So I have two new SSDs in here. I have a 120 gig SSD for my root file system. Let's just take a look at that and how that's laid out. That's actually SDD. So we have a small 1 gig file system for boot, and then 120 gigs for root. And you can see here we have very little of that's used in boot, but that gives a little bit of extra room if we want to store some stuff. And we've used about 10 gigs in root. And as you see, we're doing no A time, doing discard so it can trim. This is extended 4. Now I have a few other file systems here. Home, my data file system, and my VM disks file system are all on spinning mechanical disk. And I think Home's, what is Home here? Home's 120 gigs. I really need to get a more disk here. And that's XFS, just the default mount options. Data is also XFS, and that has no A time, because we don't really care about the access time. And then also VM disks is JFS. Now I've been doing a little bit of benchmarking and found that JFS provides some decent performances under some virtualization workloads with the large backing stores there. What was I saying here? So we also have this 60 gig drive here with a single partition on it. So we're gonna do what file system should we do? So this is going to be a little bit of SSD scratch, and so we're going to make a file system and then mount this at the root level. So what's a good idea for the file system here? My choices are extended 4, XFS, or JFS. We'll make this JFS because this is probably going to get recycled pretty quickly. JFS can fragment, so do bear that in mind. So we have SDB1, and let's take a look at the FS tab. We make a directory to mount it. Called Scratch. JFS, and we'll also do a no A time here, but also a discard. So now we should see Scratch come up, and there we go. Okay, R is installed. Wonderful. Let's validate R. That runs. Fantastic. Java and QEMU is still churning along. Let's see what other packages we might find useful here. So Netbeans I do want, but I'm not going to install it right now. Also Nime, not going to install it. It's probably going to need a tweak or two. They will install just fine here, but I might want to do something a little bit different there. Trying to think of some other stuff. Let's install the Poco libraries. So a little development add. This is going to be interesting because we're going to be building the ES40 emulator here. As you may have seen some of the previous videos looking at the ES40 emulator, so the alpha emulator running VMS. Now that I have a Linux 414, it's just 441, whatever, Series 4 kernel in place, this will be a good time to do a shootout, three-way shootout between the Intel compiler, GCC 5 series, and Clang for performance under ES40 and SimH. So I know there are other tools for dealing with Slack builds, but my preference is if it's simple stuff, I like to just use SBO package. I really just love the interface and how it mirrors the classic Slackware installer interface, which itself was based on the SLS. So yes, I am old enough and have been using Linux that long that probably, I think the second distribution I used was something called SLS. The predecessor to Slackware, and it had problems, and it was on 35 or 40 floppy disks, but it had that same menu-driven installer that hasn't changed in 24 years. So it's functional, it works, problem-free. So we've NFS, SSH. I think we're running out of initial setup here. Other than installing additional packages, we've got our scratch disk mounted. If this was a desktop machine, I'd probably go ahead and install Chrome right now, or maybe another browser, Vivaldi, WebKit, or Chrome-based browser. Currently you get Firefox and SeaMonkey. I don't know if they still ship SeaMonkey, but as this is a server, there'll be no need. Or headless, I should say. It's going to be doing other things other than serving. Development tools, probably not interested, but do leave a comment below if you want to see how I set up my development and development environments. I do stuff in R, in a lot of Perl, Java, so if you want to see the IDEs that I use, won't necessarily be that interesting. Really small stuff is VI. Next smaller stuff is in JED or Emacs, and then the big projects will move to a proper IDE, Eclipse, NetBeans sort of thing. RStudio. We use RStudio a lot for R actually. It's actually really handy because when you're dealing with R, oftentimes you're dealing with interactive exploration of data, right? So it's more interactive than traditional programming, right? So you wouldn't just write a bunch of code and then compile it. You're interacting a little bit more. You may want to execute statement at a time and keep a buffer. So I'll probably wrap this up here since it's probably not going to be that exciting to just watch me install software packages. We've done a little bit of that, both a manual Slack build installation and one with SBO package. A couple of my tweaks, just how I like things to be able to say, hey, I want X forwarding, and to turn on dmessage. Do another video down the road about NTP setup under Slackware. It's painfully straightforward. Also cups, we can do cups if necessary. Set up to print, although I don't really print from here. We do have a wireless printer here in the house, so I guess that's it for now. Leave a comment if you want to see some more in depth on anything in particular in Slackware 14.2. Thanks.